A lot has been said. A lot will be said. I hope I will not repeat what has been said, but hopefully enrich this discussion, keep his memory alive, and carry along some of the attributes that he carried all his life. I'm probably the least qualified person to speak about Hillary. When Hillary was already up and running and making big decisions in his life, I hadn't been born. In fact, when he left the nation to go and start the weekly review, you can guess how old I was, those of you who know my age. But there are certainly people in this room who not only worked with Hillary, but became friends with him and became part of his family. Those people are better to speak about him, about the experiences, and the gentleman that Hillary was. It's therefore for me a very big privilege to say something about this person who I met 4 times when I was a young reporter trying to find my way in this business. So one afternoon, I'm walking in town, and it must have been around the New Stanley Hotel. I meet this gentleman. And I remember we were going up the road to Kosewe with one Elias Makori to look for lunch. Elias knew him. I had never met Hillary. So we stopped. The conversation that went on the streets of Nairobi, around that area, lasted about 10 minutes or thereabout. And some of the things that he said to us, because we were both young at the time, remain in our minds until today. There are people who then had worked with Hillary before I met him, who I found in the newsroom. And some of them would share the same lessons, the same experiences. And we therefore began to see, myself and Elias from time to time would speak about these things. We would always say, remember what Hillary said to us. It meant that this man had enormous influence on many people that he met and he worked with. That influence transcends across many newsrooms today. So those who worked with him directly, from the conversations we then had with them, and we continue to have, say that Hillary was a unique person, especially in the way he led people. Hillary had a distinct style. He did not raise his voice, and he did not instruct. Instead, he led the people around him through the things that he did. You needed to watch him, and you needed to read his scripts. And if you wrote a script and it went to him, what you dreaded was what he said when a script came back. Because either you made the cut or you didn't. And you had to learn from that and become a better person that he wanted you to become. He's a man who showed lots of commitment, not just to the work that he did, but also to the profession. He withstood lots of pressure. My last meeting with him, which was the fourth one, he spoke to me about how intense sometimes the political pressure would be, depending on what story was going to be the lead story on a weekly review. But he would say, you know what, there's nothing personal. We have to do our work. So simply put, Hillary was a great teacher in many ways. Hillary was a huge mentor. There are people today who are in this business who would never have made it if Hillary did not give them a chance, if Hillary didn't hold their hand, and if Hillary didn't push them. To many of us, and thanks to the family for sharing Hillary with all of us, he was a father. He was able to listen, and he was able to correct, and he was able to guide. His intentions when it came to business, and those of you who have followed his story, he always wanted to create entities or publications or media houses that were able to make a difference in not just the life of ordinary Kenyans, but in our country. He put writers first, at the center of the things that he did. Photography was important to enable him and the team tell the stories. The editors who worked under him helped not just in shaping what he wanted, but they were able to perpetuate his vision. That is why the weekly review was able to live for as long as it did live. But Hillary was also human. He was humble enough to admit his mistakes. And that clip we just watched says it. For those of us who remain behind, that is a big lesson. That you can be successful, yet very humble. That you don't forget where you come from and begin to do things that Hillary would not approve. Stories are told of how he personally edited every story. And this I heard from one Macharia Gaido. He may not have known, but one evening we were somewhere, I won't say where, and he was telling this story. It seemed very natural, very easy. But Macharia is my senior. You can guess how old he is. To date, he lives by those principles. Today, he remembers what Hillary taught him. I think for the rest of us who are much younger, this is a road we'd like to travel. Journalists, the good ones, at least, because also we have a few bad ones, tend to, most of the time, avoid self-delusion. Hillary was the epitome of that. For him, journalism was more than a profession. It was a public good. So good that in his own view, it informed our democracy. It enabled our leaders to see themselves and hear the voices of many Kenyans who would rather not be heard anywhere. He showed us all how putting every journalist who had a chance to be a journalist at the center of the things that we do, at the stories that we write, and most importantly, at the publications or media houses that we work for. For him, it was a calling. And he believed everybody had a chance, and especially the ones who showed brilliances deserved an opportunity to be nurtured. The young people who have spoken here have recalled a few things that Hillary was made of. He did not just report. He wanted to change things. He believed that reporting could actually be able to transform the lives of many Kenyans, transform our governance, and to a certain extent, alleviate the suffering that Kenyans were going through at the time. This man who was arrested taught us that leadership is not about your profession. It's really personal. A great editor is always in your face. And to a certain extent, in your life. You are terrified of him, but you also love to relate with him, to work with him, and to get things to where he wants you to get. That was Hillary. And so today the journalism profession is poorer without him. We remain behind. We will try and do what he has taught us. But most importantly, we ask God to rest his soul in eternal peace. Thank you.